tal, chicos y chicas? Soy Logan y hoy os voy a traer de Stanley Parable. Es un juego un poco loco ya a los tipos de primeras. Es un juego en el que tienes que tomar decisiones y el juego va avanzando, rollo ejército de aventura, pero rompiendo la cuarta pared. No somos Stanley, un ejecutivo que tenemos que estar haciendo órdenes de lo que nos cuenta el narrador, pero claro, podemos hacerle caso no, y esto nos llevará a un final diferente. Hay bastantes finales, lo cual es muy divertido y cada uno más loco que el anterior. Os animo a que juguéis, ¿vale? Porque yo no lo he hecho todo, os voy a leer 2 capítulos y aún así hay varios finales. Pues eso puede pasar básicamente en 1 o 2 horas, pero yo creo que si sigues explorando, puedes echarle unas cuantas más. Porque está viendo que incluso hay muchos más finales, muchos más secretos y muchos más sketch y gas que son muy divertidos. Así que espero que os guste, ¿vale? Estos 3 capítulos que trae, porque yo divido en 2 partes, he estado echando horas. Pero bueno, será divertido a menos, ¿vale? Así que nada, como siempre, tenéis abajo en la descripción de todos mis redes sociales y clips, por si queréis también verme en directo. Y nada, un fuerte abrazo a todos y dentro vídeo. Comencemos. A ver qué tal este juego. Locura.
This is the story of a man named Stanley.
A ver.
Stanley worked for a company in a big building where he was employee number 427. Employee number 427's job was simple. He sat at his desk in room 427 and he pushed buttons on a keyboard. Orders came to him through a monitor on his desk, telling him what buttons to push, how long to push them, and in what order. This is what employee 427 did every day of every month of every year. And although others might have considered it soul-rending, Stanley relished every moment that the orders came in, as though he had been made exactly for this job. And Stanley was happy. And then one day, something very peculiar happened. Something that would forever change Stanley. Something he would never quite forget. He had been at his desk for nearly an hour when he realized that not one single order had arrived on the monitor for him to follow. No one had showed up to give him instructions, call a meeting, or even say hi. Never in all his years at the company had this happened, this complete isolation. Something was very clearly wrong. Shocked, frozen solid, Stanley found himself unable to move for the longest time. But as he came to his wits and regained his senses, he got up from his desk and stepped out of his office.
Vale, me dice que salga por la cocina. Aquí. ¿Puedo hacer algo aquí? Ver, movimiento, nada. Poner. Y no voy a hacer nada más, ¿no? ¿Agacharme? Con esto, vale. Ok. ¿Puedo interactuar con algo? No puedo interactuar con nada. Vale. De momento no voy a interactuar con nada, vale. Supuestamente, como si recuerdo del juego, estoy haciendo lo que da caso a este tío, a las voces, pues tienen cosas raras. Vale.
All of his co-workers were gone. What could it mean? Stanley decided to go to the meeting room. Perhaps he had simply missed a memo.
¿No hay nada aquí? ¿Y apagar los ordenadores o qué? No puedo hacer nada más. No puedo hacer nada más. Imagínate tener que seguir. Abrir puertas, no puedo tocar nada. Yo. Ahora sí, con el clic de izquierda. No puedo abrir puertas. No puedo abrir esta. ¿Qué puedo hacer?
When Stanley came to a set of 2 open doors, he entered the door on his left.
¿Qué ocurre si no quiero entrar por la izquierda? Amigo. Venga, vamos a intentar seguirle el rollo, venga. 4, 3, Digamos el rollo.
Yet there was not a single person here either. Feeling a wave of disbelief, Stanley decided to go out to his boss's office, hoping he might find an answer there.
Vale. No veo interesante, unos que planos. ¿Veis? ¿Cojo mi mesa? ¿Ves? No sé si habrá algo interesante o algo que tenga que recordar aquí, pero bueno. Empleados. Vale. Tomaré un poco de nota, a ver si que me deje alguna pista por aquí. Vale, bueno. Vamos a seguir para adelante. A ver qué encontramos.
Stanley stepped into the broom closet, but there was nothing here, so he turned around and got back on track.
¿Y si no quiero? ¿Puedo hacer nada más aquí? ¿La escoba?
There was nothing here. No choice to make, no path to follow, just an empty broom closet. No reason to still be here.
Vale, más rollo me da.
Coming to a staircase, Stanley walked upstairs to his boss's office.
¿Y si voy para abajo? Me han dicho que vamos a ir de un poquito de rollo, de momento. Pero es que me pica la curiosidad. A ver qué ocurre. Este no puede hacer nada. Y este se pone rojo. ¿Esto? Aquí no nota. ¿No lo puedo coger o algo? No puedo interactuar con ella. Nada. Venga, a ver qué hay aquí.
But Stanley just couldn't do it. He considered the possibility of facing his boss. Admitting he had left his post during work hours, he might be fired for that. And in such a competitive economy, why had he taken that risk? All because he believed everyone had vanished? His boss would think he was crazy. And then something occurred to Stanley. Maybe, he thought to himself, maybe I am crazy. All of my co-workers blinking mysteriously out of existence in a single moment for no reason at all. None of it made any logical sense. And as Stanley pondered this, he began to make other strange observations. For example, why couldn't he see his feet when he looked down? Why did doors close automatically behind him wherever he went? And for that matter, these rooms were starting to look pretty familiar. Were they simply repeating? No, Stanley said to himself, this is all too strange. This can't be real. And at last, he came to the conclusion that had been on the tip of his tongue. He just hadn't found the words for it. I'm dreaming, he yelled. This is all a dream. Oh, what a relief Stanley felt to have finally found an answer, an explanation. His co-workers weren't actually gone. He wasn't going to lose his job. He wasn't crazy after all. He thought to himself, I suppose I'll wake up soon. I'll have to go back to my boring real-life job pushing buttons. I may as well enjoy this while I'm still lucid. So, he imagined himself flying and began to gently float above the ground. Then he imagined himself soaring through space on a magical star field, and it too appeared. It was so much fun, and Stanley marveled that he had still not woken up. How was he remaining so lucid? And then perhaps the strangest question of them all entered Stanley's head. One he was amazed he hadn't asked himself sooner. Why is there a voice in my head dictating everything that I'm doing and thinking? Now the voice was describing itself being considered by Stanley, who found it particularly strange. I'm dreaming about a voice describing me, thinking about how it's describing my thoughts, he thought. And while he thought it all very odd and wondered if this voice spoke to all people in their dreams, the truth was that, of course, this was not a dream. How could it be? Was Stanley simply deceiving himself, believing that if he's asleep, he doesn't have to take responsibility for himself? Stanley is as awake right now as he's ever been in his life. Now, hearing the voice speak these words was quite a shock to Stanley. After all, he knew for certain, beyond a doubt, that this was in fact a dream. Did the voice not see him float and make the magical stars just a moment ago? How else would the voice explain all that? This voice was a part of himself too. Surely, if he could just... He would prove it. He would prove that he was in control, that this was a dream. So he closed his eyes gently, and he invited himself to wake up. He felt the cool weight of the blanket on his skin, the press of the mattress on his back, the fresh air of a world outside this one. Let me wake up, he thought to himself. I'm through with this dream. I wish it to be over. Let me go back to my job.
No vuelvas a trabajar. No vuelvas a trabajar.
Please, it's all I want. I want my apartment, and my wife, and my job. All I want is my life exactly the way it's always been. My life is normal. I am normal.
No es normal esto.
Everything will be fine.
Esto no es normal.
I am okay.
No.
Stanley began screaming. Please, someone, wake me up. My name is Stanley. I have a boss, I have an office. I am
1, 2, B4.
Please, just
2,
someone
B4.
tell me
Yo
I'm
creo que
real.
recuerdo.
I must be real, I must be. Can anyone hear my voice? Who am I? Who am I? And everything went black.
¿Qué me ha pasado?
This is the story of a woman named Mariella. Mariella woke up on a day like any other. She arose, got dressed, gathered her belongings, and walked to her place of work. But on this particular day, her walk was interrupted by the body of a man who had stumbled through town talking and screaming to himself, and then collapsed dead on the sidewalk. And although she would soon turn to go call for an ambulance, for just a few brief moments, she considered the strange man. He was obviously crazy. This much she knew. Everyone knows what crazy people look like. And in that moment, she thought to herself how lucky she was to be normal. I am sane. I am in control of my mind. I know what is real and what is not. It was comforting to think this, and in a certain way, seeing this man made her feel better. But then she remembered the meeting she had scheduled for that day. The very important people whose impressions of her would affect her career, and by extension, the rest of her life. She had no time for this, so it was only a moment that she stood there, staring down at the body. And then she turned and ran.
¿Qué coño ha pasado, tío? Y volvemos a empezar. Vale. Seguramente habré visto uno de los 6 finales que tiene el juego, porque el juego tiene varios finales. Depende de lo que hagas, de donde vayas, puedes pasar cualquier cosa al final. He visto uno de ellos. Bien.
But Stanley simply couldn't handle the pressure. What if he had to make a decision? What if a crucial outcome fell under his responsibility? He had never been trained for that. No. This couldn't go anywhere except badly. The thing to do now, Stanley thought to himself, is to wait. Nothing will hurt me. Nothing will break me. In here I can be happy forever.
Yo quiero salir, quiero ser feliz,
Stanley
quiero ser feliz.
waited. Hours passed, then days. Had years gone by? He no longer had the ability to tell. But the one thing he knew for sure, beyond any doubt, was that if he waited long enough, the answers would come. Eventually, someday, they would arrive. Soon, very soon now, this will end. He will be spoken to. He will be told what to do. Now it's just a little bit closer. Now it's even closer.
Está cerca, ¿me quieres dejar salir de aquí? ¿Otro final? Puta locura. Vale.
A soft wind blew outside and perhaps rain started, and if it did, it stopped shortly after. Stanley hoped that he would one day see weather.
Me quiero ir a asomar a la ventana, ya no hay nadie. ¿Yo he pasado por ahí? No lo sé. Y no he pasado. Tampoco.
When Stanley came to a set of 2 open doors, he entered the door on
Vale,
his
venga,
left.
izquierda. Era lo de los jefes.
Yet there was not a single person here either. Feeling a wave of disbelief, Stanley decided to go up to his boss's office, hoping he might find an aunt. Coming to a staircase, Stanley walked upstairs to his boss's office.
Vamos a ver la que tiene el jefe, a ver qué pasa. ¿Ah? Hola. ¿Será este nuestro jefe? Y vaya juego más paranoico. Este es el baño de ejecutivos. ¿Tiene que ser aquí?
Stepping into his manager's office, Stanley was once again stunned to discover not an indication of any human life. Shocked, unraveled, Stanley wondered in disbelief who orchestrated this. What dark secret was being held from him? What he could not have known was that the keypad behind the boss's desk guarded the terrible truth that his boss had been keeping from him. And so the boss had assigned it an extra secret PIN number. 2845. But of course, Stanley couldn't possibly have known this.
Voy a apuntar por si las moscas, tío. Esto me lo apunto. 2845. Por si las moscas me apunto ese número. 2845.
Stanley just sat around twiddling his thumbs. Trying to input anything on the device was useless, since he could never possibly know that the combination was 2845.
A ver, ¿está aquí la combinación? No, ¿no? Ah, está aquí, de hecho.
2845.
¿Seguro?
Yet incredibly, by simply pushing random buttons on the keypad, Stanley happened to input the correct code by sheer luck. Amazing. He stepped into the newly opened passageway.
Miedo me da esto, ¿eh? What?
Descending deeper into the building, Stanley realized he felt a bit peculiar. It was a stirring of emotion in his chest, as though he felt more free to think for himself, to question the nature of his job. Why did he feel this now, when for years it had never occurred to him? This question would not go unanswered for long.
Ah, ¿qué coño estoy? ¿Qué para? No, ya.
Stanley walked straight ahead through the large door that read Mind Control Facility.
Yo me voy por mi izquierda, yo me voy por mi izquierda, yo me voy por mi izquierda, yo me voy por aquí.
Although this passageway had the word escape written on it, the truth was that at the end of this hall, Stanley would meet his violent death.
No te creo, por lo que perdía misteriosa fuera de mi mente.
The door behind him was not shut. Stanley still had every opportunity to turn around and get back on track.
Oh, ¿y si muere de
At
verdad?
this point, Stanley was making a conscious, concerted effort to walk forward and willingly confront his death.
¿Aquí muerto? What? ¿Leches?
As the machine whirred into motion and Stanley was inched closer and closer to his demise, he reflected that his life had been of no consequence whatsoever. Stanley can't see the bigger picture. He doesn't know the real story, trapped forever in his narrow vision of what this world is. Perhaps his death was of no great loss, like plucking the eyeballs from a blind man. So he resigned and willingly accepted this violent end to his brief and shallow life. Farewell, Stanley.
Farewell, Stanley, cried the narrator, as Stanley was led helplessly into the enormous metal jaws. In a single visceral instant, Stanley was obliterated, as the machine crushed every bone in his body, killing him instantly.
What? What? ¿Qué leches?
And yet it would be just a few minutes before Stanley would restart the game, back in his office, as alive as ever. What exactly did the narrator think he was going to accomplish?
What? Tío.
When every path you can walk has been created for you long in advance, death becomes meaningless, making life the same. Do you see now? Do you see that Stanley was already dead from the moment he hit start?
What? Wait. La oficina. De aquí, hostia, estaba toda la oficina, el camino, el corredor, y da igual el camino que tomes, ¿no? Computadoras. ¿Y los escritos del juego, en serio? ¿Qué leches? ¿No tiene sonido? ¿What? Pero menuda fumada el que se ha hecho este juego, ¿eh? ¿Y por aquí? Vale, los cuadros que me he encontrado. ¿El ordenador Stanley? Menuda flipada. Las oficinas del jefe, es decir, ¿hay más de una? Lo de la oficina. Pero leches, ¿tú cómo de grande es? ¿What? ¿Alguien ha dicho mi nombre? Cosa mía.
Where were all of his co-workers? Oh, I don't know. How about they're throwing a surprise party for him?
Que Van Bryan, la bota de narrador. Creo que había algo del juego 3 veces durante 2 años de desarrollo. Los clics. No se han usado al final del juego. Madre, no sé qué bueno. Qué bueno, tío. Qué cosa más buena. ¿Estamos aquí encerrados? ¿No puedo hacer otra cosa o qué? ¿Y para aquí qué hay? ¡Ah! ¿El final libre? Tío, estoy como en la interfaz del juego, ¿en serio? This way is very indie. Ah, vale, esto es lo que se pensaba para en la versión del final libre. Una de las versiones del final. Esto, otra de la versión del final. Monitor de elevador. Mucha luz. Yo estoy volviéndome loco, quiero salir de aquí ya. En serio, quiero salir de aquí. ¿El juego está ahora pausado? No sé, ya voy... ¿Y esto? ¿Otro de los pasillos? Trending model, trending wells, through many iterations, this room presenta la cuarta versión del final. Y no está completa, pero decidirás abandonarla y... Vale. No lo he visto todavía. Tío, ¿esto qué es, tío? Palancas. No sé si forma parte del juego, es que se ha bugueado de verdad. Sí, se ha bugueado de verdad. ¿O no? Que yo no sé yo. Sí. Se ha bugueado. Vale.
All of his co-workers were gone. What could it mean? Stanley decided to go to the meeting room. Perhaps he had simply missed a
Esto ya lo hemos
memo.
vivido.
And so the boss had assigned it an extra secret PIN number. 288. Stanley was in such a rush to get through the story as quickly as possible, he didn't even have a single minute to just let the narrator talk. That kind of anxiety isn't healthy, so he relaxed for a few moments with some calming new age music.
¡Qué crack!
Feeling soothed and rejuvenated, Stanley calmly walked forward into the opened passageway.
En serio, digo, bueno. A ver, vamos aquí, la historia de antes se acaba de pillar. Qué bueno es ese.
When every path you can walk has been created for you long in advance, death
Muy
becomes
grande.
meaningless, making life
Las
the same.
oficinas, todo.
Do you see now? Do you
Y los
see
caídos,
that
digo, bueno.
Stanley was already dead from the moment he hit start?
Ya hacemos todo. Esto. Me he dejado por aquí. Un hat. Una locura, tío. Warzone. Alguien más. No te da alienígena, ¿en serio? El desarrollo, nosotros decidimos, estamos desarrollando al final cuando Stanley comenzó con una batalla de dignas o algo así. Fumada, fumada muy tope. Tina. Cuatro, 3, 2, 1. ¿Qué leche pasa? Yo me quito por si la boca se explota. ¿Qué más hay aquí? ¿En serio? ¿Points? Mira, los 7 finales. Claro, si elegí por la izquierda, obvio. Obediencia, desobediencia, largo. Seguimiento. Obediencia. ¿Este es el que hicimos al otro? Nada, largo. Obediencia, desobediencia. Vale. What the fuck? Las diferentes opciones que hay dentro del juego si decías la puerta de izquierda y de la derecha. Brutalísimo. Estoy como en la interfaz del juego, tío. Es decir, el desarrollo de todo. Aquí se me pilló. Segunda vez que se me queda pillado. Empiezo a pensar que forma parte del juego. ¿En serio? Espera. Espera, que ha hecho algo. Creo que formaba parte del juego. Tiene que haber algún botón. Hijo de p... Control Z. Control Z. ¿Qué hijo de... Control Z. Nada más que os... ¡Qué puto crack sois! Trailers. Warren for major teaser trailer. Desarrollo. Vale. El primero que lanzamos en mayo de 2012. Una serie de ediciones rotas y una voz de narrador informando. Viewers. Vale, esto es los trailers. Control Z, tío. ¿Y aquí no puedo hacer nada más? Hijos de Control Z, ¿eh? ¿Cómo me han jugado ahí? ¿What? ¿Qué? No sé dónde voy. ¿Qué he estado? La cuestión es cómo se sale de ahí. Me voy. ¿Se sale de aquí? Yo voy intentando salir de aquí ya. No sé cómo se sale. Mi oficina. Mi oficina. Varios diseños de la oficina de Stanley. Mola. Pero yo quiero salir de este sitio, en serio. Ahí es. Por ahí no he venido. Salida, ¿vale? Pues será por aquí.
Oh, look at these two. How they wish to destroy one another. How they wish to control one another. How they both wish to be free.
Vale. ¿Apago el juego o no apago el juego? ¿O no?
Can you see? Can you see how much they need one another? No, perhaps not. Sometimes these things cannot be seen. But listen to me. You can still save these two. You can stop the program before they both fail. Push escape and press quit. There's no other way to beat this game. As long as you move forward, you'll be walking someone else's path. Stop now. Be your only true choice. Whatever you do, choose it. Don't let time choose for you. Don't let...
Es que esto es demasiado. Veamos el final. Vale.
Stanley had never seen the office this brightly lit. Was it a sign of something? He hoped it was. He hoped very much that it was. Oh, please. Are you really just doing this for the achievement? Click a door 5 times. Is that all that you think an achievement is worth? No, 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 no. I can't just give these merits away for such little effort. A measly 5 clicks. Now suppose you were to click the door 20 times. I would say that's the kind of effort that warrants recognition. I have to say, I'm still not feeling the satisfaction of witnessing true effort for a noble cause. Perhaps 50 clicks will do it. Yes, almost certainly 50 clicks.
¿A que sí capaz?
No, I'm still not feeling it. I want this achievement to have meant something. It has to be a true reward for valiant effort. I want to see some hustle, Stanley. I want to see commitment, a willingness to go all the way, no matter what the cost. Why don't you go put 20 clicks into door number 417?
Aquí, se vuelve lo que sí lo hago. No me he dado cuenta, pero vaya, yo sigo. Tenemos toda la noche. Bueno, de nada.
When Stanley came to a set of 2 open doors, this was not the correct way to the meeting room, and Stanley knew it perfectly well. Perhaps he wanted to stop by the employee lounge first, just to admire it. Yes, truly a room worth admiring. It had really been worth the detour after all, just to spend a few moments here in this immaculate, beautifully constructed room. Stanley, but eager to get back to business, Stanley took the first open door on his left.
Nope. Hey.
Stanley was so bad at following directions, it's incredible he wasn't fired years ago.
Voy a obedecer en todo. Vamos a intentar hacerlo lo contrario. Voy a hacer por miedo a ver. Y funciona 5000 si te matan.
Look, Stanley, I think perhaps we've gotten off on the wrong foot here. I'm not your enemy, really, I'm not. I realize that investing your trust in someone else can be difficult, but the fact is that the story has been about nothing but you all this time. There's someone you've been neglecting, Stanley. Someone you've forgotten about. Please, stop trying to make every decision by yourself. Now, I'm not asking for me, I'm asking for her. This is it, Stanley. Your chance to redeem yourself, to put your work aside, to let her back into your life. She's been waiting.
Y ahora por aquí.
That's her, Stanley. You need to be the one to do this, to reach out to her. If you can truly place your faith in another, then pick up the phone.
5. Creo que me sé esto. Vamos a entrar en la interfaz y vamos a pedir una cuenta atrás. Fijamos que suele pasar algo. Hay un contador de 15 segundos. No lo cojas, no lo cojas. No lo cojas. Sabemos que tiene un contador. ¿Ya lo 10? ¿12? ¿Vamos ahí? ¿Lleva ya? No cojas, Stanley, no lo cojas.
As Stanley picked up the phone, a white light engulfed him, filling him not just with radiance, but with hope. Hope for a life reunited one... Wait, Oh, goodness. Stanley, did you just unplug the phone? No, that wasn't supposed to be a choice. How did you do that? You actually chose incorrectly? I didn't even know that was possible. Let me double check. No, it's definitely here, clear as day. Stanley picks up the phone. He's taken to his apartment where he finds his wife, and the two pledge themselves to one another. Music comes in, fade to white, roll credits. Not picking up the phone is actually somehow an incorrect course of action. How is that even possible? None of these decisions were supposed to mean anything. I don't understand. How on earth are you making meaningful choices? What did you... Wait a second. Did I just see... No, that's not possible. I can't believe it. How had I not noticed it sooner? You're not Stanley. You're a real person. I can't believe I was so mistaken. This is why you've been able to make correct and incorrect choices. And to think I've been letting you run around in this game for so long. If you've made any more wrong choices, you might have negated it entirely. It's as though you completely ignored even the most basic safety protocol for real-world decision-making. Or did you not grasp the severity of the situation? Well, I won't have that kind of risk on my watch. I'm going to stop the game for a moment so we can educate you properly on safe decision-making in the real world. Please observe this helpful instructional video.
Choice. It's the best part of being a real person. But if used incorrectly, can also be the most dangerous. For example, in this scenario, a hypothetical real person named Stephen has a choice. He could spend years helping improve the quality of life for citizens of impoverished third world nations. Or he could systematically set fire to every orphan living in a 30-kilometer radius of his house. Which choice would you make? Remember that unlike here, the real world makes sense, and at no time should you make a choice that does not conform to rational logic. If you find yourself speaking with a person who does not make sense, in all likelihood, that person is not real. Allow the person to finish their thought, then provide an excuse why you cannot continue talking. Turn to a partner and practice saying, "My goodness, is it 4:30? I'm supposed to be having a back, sack, and crack."
¿Qué? ¿Pasado?
Excellent. Making choices on a regular basis is the best part to a healthy decision-making process. Most medical professionals recommend making at least 8 choices per day. Do you make more than 8? Less? And finally, if you begin to wonder if your choices are actually meaningful and whether you'll ever make a significant contribution to the world, just remember that in the vast infiniteness of space, your thoughts and problems are materially insignificant, and the feeling should subside. At this time, your instructor will guide you in an exercise to test and reinforce the material covered in this video.
Ah, welcome back. You may have noticed that this room has begun to deteriorate as a result of narrative contradiction. But not to worry. Now that you're properly informed on good decision-making, we're going to revisit a choice you made just a few minutes ago and see what the correct thing to do would have been. This way, please.
¿Si me quedo? ¿Es la salida? Qué puta locura.
Y hasta aquí el vídeo de hoy. Si os ha gustado, dadle un like, comentar, compartir y suscribiros para mejorar el canal. Mi nombre es Logan y nos vemos en el siguiente vídeo. Un saludo a todos. ¡Chao!